Hello again my friends, this is a boy and his dog and welcome to the channel where I talk, play, rank and review about games on the Evercade, old and new. In today's episode we are jumping deeper into the Piko Interactive Collection 4 with our first review, Star X. Let's get stuck in. Trade negotiations with a newly discovered race, the Karask, have gone somewhat awry after you accidentally discover they wish to enslave all of humanity, which is nice. Star X is a 3D polygonal shoot-'em-up, was developed by Graphic State Limited, published by BAM Entertainment and released on the Game Boy Advance in 2002. And in all intents and purposes this is a Starwing clone. And that is nay a bad thing, considering this was created for the Game Boy Advance. You can start to appreciate just how impressive this little tyke is. There are 22 levels split into separate theme worlds or planets, with the first two stages being what you know and love from Starwing, an on-rail shooter across the planet's surface, with the third stage being set in the planet's orbit. What is even more impressive here is the orbit stages aren't on rails. You have 360-degree horizontal turning movement in what is more like a large closed-off arena, where you can fly in any direction within the boundaries, with a radar which doesn't always help find everything, many enemies and a few large structures dotted about to give you a sense of place. Though you can't turn as far vertically, it's still a very impressive feat and a lovely surprise after the equally lovely surprise of the great on-rail sections. The on-rail sections all pretty much have the same mission: survive to the end of the first stage and survive to the end and defeat a large boss on the second. They all look grand too, and even though they're only skins in the end, each world felt different enough. You've got snow, lava, oceans, deserts, green lands, a city in the clouds, all the kinds you'd expect. And just like Starwing, you'll be swooping past many structures and flying through spaces in the land masses or alien-made structures, with many similar elements like opening and closing large doorways or falling pillars, all the while enemies attacking waves ready to be taken out en route. It's in the free roaming orbit stages though where there's the illusion of a bit more variety. One has you destroying all mines, another has you hunting for a more powerful ship, another still has you taking out generators to a force field. It's all the same in the end: search for a specific thing and destroy it, but visually it's different, and between the on-rail sections it's different enough to add a little freshness, though the time limit can be a bit of a bitch on first attempts. You have three types of attacks: your regular fire you can tap with B, a lock on if you hold B down, or a smart bomb by pressing select, of which you can only hold up to 4 at a time. I would say always hold off using the lock on and bombs for bosses, the former because I found it a bit useless on regular enemies when your normal fire does a better, quicker job, and the latter because again it's not really needed until you reach the boss, where they can take a considerable amount of health off the big beasties. Equally, flying left and right past the boss and locking on can sometimes be the only safe way to chip the health down without getting too scratched, but it can be a bit fiddly. Pressing A unleashes your turbo, which is great for slipping past moving gates, but even better for trying to get across the map on the orbit stages, where you have an element of free roam and an obnoxious short time limit. Controlling the ship is fine in both types of levels, though using L1 to brake brings your ship right up to the screen as it slows down. It's a neat idea but can obscure what you're trying to shoot. I found this most annoying in the orbit stage where you need to shoot shitloads of boxes, but the time limit is a bit of a bitch. It may take a bit of time to get used to how the aiming works, with how the ship and red viewpoints recenters, but it doesn't take too long, and it won't be long before you're flying all over the shop, blasting everything in sight. The bosses you face are equally impressive for their size and annoying. A few constantly come at the screen, filling the view up, and it can get a bit jerky and hard to see what you're doing. This is why the lock on and saving those 4 bombs is so important. Just get them out of the way and get back to the good stuff. We have power-ups aplenty dotted around the on-rail sections, though admittedly it's hard to always be precise enough to grab everything when a lot's going on. The amount of times I've just missed a well-needed shield replacement is a lot. There are also gun power-ups where it doubles your shot or upgrades it to a new weapon type, and extra bombs if you've used some, but there is a limit of 4 unless you use the code in the instruction manual. But you wouldn't do that, would you? Longevity wise, there's a decent length to this game. You may even want to use a save state just to have a break around the middle. There's a practice mode which is always nice and very much in the vein of Starwing, getting you to fly around buildings, through hoops and ending on target practice. We also have 3 difficulties, easy being actually a really good place to start, starting with an extra life and 1 homing missile from the off, and with enemies taking less hits to destroy, because believe me, this game does get quite tricky. The game of course looks and plays wonderful on the XP and Super Pocket, being as it was made for the Game Boy Advance. Of course we are using shoulder buttons a bit, so take that into account with the Pocket, but it didn't cause me too much problems, and honestly it ain't too bad on the big screen either, because everything is made of plain polygons without messy details. It staged quite well. All in all, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. It fulfilled that Starwing urge for me. I always have a Starwing urge. And although it may not have the multiple routes, secrets and interesting bosses of Starwing, everything else felt pretty solid. And the orbit stages were a nice addition, if sometimes frustrating. So yeah, if you're in any way a fan of the Starwing Star Fox game, this is a great, if slightly less impressive take on that style of game. And a bit of a technical marvel, being released on the Game Boy Advance in the early 2000s. And if you made it here to the end of the episode, thanks ever so much for joining me. Leave a thumbs up or comment if you'd like. Either way, I'm just chuffed you poked your head in for a goosey gander. As always, I hope you're having the most awesomest of days, my friends. And until next time, be seeing you.